All right. So, ma'am, what will you suggest to a first-year student who has just started his graduation and want to pursue a career into finance? And अगर किसी student को लगता है कि FRM CFA करके they want to explore opportunities outside India, so what can be the roadmap they should follow? मतलब it is a very huge thirst in Indian students that they can get some work outside India. मतलब वो FRM CFA शायद करते भी इसलिए हो क्योंकि global course है, हर जगह valid है, it is acceptable in almost all the economies and countries, so they can get some opportunities abroad. I guess 50% or more than students are doing FRM CFA because of that. So, what can be the roadmap for a student who is starting his career and wants to make a career outside India in the finance industry?
It's a very broad question, and
Right.
stop me if I divert a lot.
Right.
So, if someone is just starting their education, my first suggestion would be to focus on the core subjects they are studying. And it doesn't mean that, oh, someone who's doing an engineering cannot use those subjects in their career. Also, it doesn't mean someone who's studying commerce cannot use those subjects, because to get into financial industry, I mean, you don't need to understand everything, right? I mean, you could be an economics expert and you could get into a research or economics team of a bank. You could be an accounting expert and you could get into finance side of the bank with your risk management knowledge.
Right.
You could be an engineer with a strong hold on mathematics subject, and you could still get into modeling kind of areas. And you could be a statistics expert, which is like probably very much in demand. And if nothing, you could just be someone who's interested in coding and technology, and you can develop your Python skills and get into coding those risk queries, which are very widely used in risk management. So someone doesn't have to know all of that. What someone has to figure out is, like, of all the core subjects they are studying in their curriculum, so there would be few subjects that everyone would like more and not like too much. So decide, like, obviously you have to pass all, like don't ever say
Right.
that I'm saying that you don't have to pass all the exams, but then you pick and choose, right? That you prioritize some subjects out of interest, out of scope. So you focus on those subjects, and it kind of goes back to the point we were discussing earlier, what complementary skills you need
Right.
apart from FRM. So try and leverage those core subjects to develop your complementary skills which are needed alongside FRM. And then, as I said, like the third most important skill was communication. So someone who's just starting their studies also should focus on making sure that their communication skills, their presentation skills stay in that area where everyone just like wants them. So because it's a learning curve, I mean, I don't think anyone is a born presenter or a born communicator. You kind of learn it over time. So
Right.
colleges or university is the right time to focus on it. So that's what I would say when you are studying. The next thing is, like, if someone wants to work outside India, I can talk about my path, like one
Right.
path which I know how I
Right.
came to London, and I'm sure there can be a lot of other paths. So the lot of other paths probably include, like, you get into college and get into a student exchange program which has a university outside India. Then you kind of give yourself opportunity to explore another country or another, like, in general culture, and decide where you want to go and like kind of move there. You could do your bachelor's in India, you could move out for master's somewhere outside, and then develop from there or grow from there. Uh, I'll come back to my path. That's like probably a very common path available to people these days. And the third thing I would say, going back to your point about like people do FRM and CFA because it's a globally recognized certification, I totally agree. I mean, it's a shame that sometimes, like we very competitively with a lot of effort get admissions into college, which are very important to us. And it's probably like, I mean, getting to those colleges is a lot more difficult than doing FRM and CFA.
Right. Right.
But when you go outside India, people might not even know the name of those colleges,
Right.
which is okay. So you might not be able to leverage it to the extent you can leverage that
Exactly.
college name or university in India.
Right.
So FRM and CFA does help, because if you say, like, if I go and say to someone that, oh, I've done FRM and CFA, and I've worked in finance industry, and I've worked in finance industry even in India, and then I tell someone about my master's college, they might be able to relate, yeah, fine, I might have done master's from a good college, because all other degrees kind of accumulate and point in that direction. So
Right.
sometimes it helps. But if I just go and tell someone, oh, I did my master's from this college, people might not even know what the college is. So yes, FRM and CFA does help that way. Now, the path for me has been that I work in one of those banks, which are a global bank and have their centers in India. you do well because even you do well and you get opportunities to move globally, which has become a very normal trend these days. Because sometimes even for organizations, it's easier to move someone from one location to other to fill some roles rather than hire in that location itself. Because hiring would mean they have to find someone, they have to teach someone like from scratch. But say if I work for a person who sits in, like I sit in Delhi and I work for a person who sits in London, and have proved that I can be a good resource. So they'll have more motivation to move me from Delhi to London rather than find someone new in London.
I absolutely agree to this part. And I also thought that when you're working in global company, most of the companies which give opportunities are global. And if you are working in some such companies, all you have to do is perform to the best of your level. And I believe that
Agreed.
you'll be able to make it
And there are
happen.
many, yeah, and many of my colleagues, I like, I'm not the only one. Many of my colleagues have done that. So it's pretty common. It's not that
Right, actually,
unusual.
yes.
Yeah.
So as per your words, I can derive that the college student के लिए जो learning है that can be threefold. Like they can have a finance professional career, FRM, CFA in the form of related courses which they can pursue. They should be having some technical skills. Like if they were from engineering background, they should be able to code. If they were from commerce background, they should have good knowledge of accountancy, which can complement with the finance wala part. And at third, communication rules everything.
Yeah. Can't highlight the communication enough. So.
Right. So communication plays the lead role. So these three things are important, which everyone needs to focus more on.